Now, in order for the economy not to tank, you need predictability and you need reliability. I'm not just hearing this from people who are on the left or in the center. I'm hearing this from business people who are on the right. And as a business person who is on the right, you know what I want in my economy? I want a sense of predictability. So certain things that President Trump is doing do give that sense of predictability. So for example, we know there's going to be a move to maintain taxes at current rates. That's great. That means I know exactly what to expect in terms of my taxes. We know that regulations are likely to become less onerous. That's wonderful. I know precisely what to expect. When it comes to the tariffs are incredibly chaotic. And the way they've been rolled out so far, which is sort of like a hokey pokey, we'll put a tariff in, we'll take a tariff out, we'll put a tariff in, and we'll move it all about. Like that particular approach disquiets markets. It means that you don't know whether to invest in a particular contract. If you have inputs from foreign countries, you don't know whether to re-sign that contract. And you also don't know whether you're going to want to sign a domestic contract because maybe the tariff doesn't go into place and now you're paying twice what you otherwise would have paid. This sort of uncertainty is not good for the broader business community, which is why you've seen the Dow Jones Industrial Average giving up all of the gains since President Trump's election. So President Trump was asked about this over the weekend, and he said that he doesn't need to be clearer on tariffs.
Will we have clarity?
You'll have a lot, but we may go up with some tariffs. It depends. We may go up. I don't think we'll go down, but we may go up. But they have plenty of clarity. They just use that. That's like almost a soundbite. They always say that. We want clarity.
Well, that's not a soundbite. That's a reality. And again, I'm supporting President Trump here. I want Trump's economy to boom. And I can say, as a business person with hundreds of employees, I want to know what comes next because that's how I game for how I spend and how I save and how I invest. And that's true for every major or minor business person in the country. Now, President Trump, to his credit, is being cautious about his predictions. Howard Lutnick, his commerce secretary, was on the Sunday shows, and he said, don't worry, no recession is coming. And, his mouth to God's ears.
Should Americans brace for a recession?
Absolutely not. Anybody who bets against Donald Trump, it's like the same people who thought Donald Trump wasn't a winner a year ago. Donald Trump is a winner. He's going to win for the American people. That's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be no recession in America.
Okay, now again, I hope that's true. And I generally believe that that is true. However, uncertainty is in fact uncertainty. President Trump was asked the same exact question about an hour later, and he said, listen, I'm not going to make any predictions about the economy, which, by the way, is the smart response on this. President Trump has a good feel for this. A smart response is, I don't know what's going to happen, because the problem is if you say there's going to be no recession and then there is one recessionary quarter, it's all over the TV for the next 3 years. This is the lesson that should have been learned during the Biden administration, when the Biden administration and the Federal Reserve called inflation transitory, and it's now 4 years later, and inflation is not transitory.
Are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I mean, I think it should be great.
Okay, now again, if the idea here is that we are ratcheting up pressure to then ratchet back down the tariffs, okay. If the idea is that we're trying to pry wins out of other countries, okay, I'm there. If the idea is that tariffs themselves are going to be good for the country, I have yet to see a situation in which that is true that is not from the 19th century. Okay, when trade internationally was significantly more limited, and spending, by the way, was significantly more limited domestically speaking. As we spoke about last week, the reality is that while we are subsidizing a lot of businesses elsewhere through global trade in our markets, everybody else is subsidizing our welfare state by buying our bonds. Okay, that is a reality. Let me tell you something. When you have one of those mattresses from the box stores, you really don't think about how bad it is until you get something new and better. That's what happened with me and Helix mattress. You know that feeling where you wake up and your back is already complaining at you? That was me a lot. Like the mattress was sagging, it would absorb heat, it was really bad. But then I switched on over to Helix, and I wake up feeling ready to take on even my busiest days and the craziest headlines. Here's what makes Helix different. They don't believe in one-size-fits-all sleep solutions. Instead, they use their sleep quiz to match you with a custom mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. Whether you sleep hot, need extra support for your back, or share your bed with a restless partner, Helix has a perfect match for you. Honestly, my mattress from Helix, it's so good when I'm on the road, it is very difficult for me to sleep nearly as well. Right now, Helix is offering an incredible March Madness sale. Visit helixsleep.com/Ben. Get 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/Ben for 20% off site-wide. Again, just visit helixsleep.com/Ben for this exclusive offer. It's helixsleep.com/Ben, and you get 20% off site-wide. And meanwhile, the question is whether these tariffs are being put on in order to drive, again, an ancillary outcome, right? It's not about the economy. It's about, for example, fentanyl. That was the case that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem was making over the weekend, that this is all about fentanyl.
It really is about fentanyl. It really is. And I think the president obviously wants a strong economy, obviously wants better trade deals as well. Mm-hmm. But this is about fentanyl and what we can do to stop the cartels from partnering with Chinese officials, laundering money, and bringing a poison into our country that is specifically designed to kill the next generation.
Okay, so again, if the idea is let's make Canada arm up the border and militarize the border, all right, fine, okay. The problem is that the metrics that are being used, like I want the deliverable because that way you get a win, right? If President Trump says, I want Canada to do X, and if Canada does X, the tariffs go back down, I'm fine with it. But it's very difficult to make that argument about, for example, fentanyl when you are not saying the thing you want from the Canadians. This is a point that was made by Ambassador Kirsten Hillman. She says, listen, less than 1% of all fentanyl that's being seized coming into the United States is coming from Canada. Last year, 43 pounds of fentanyl were seized coming from Canada. Now, you can make the argument that's because we have a wide open border with Canada, but we had a wide open border with Mexico, and 22,000 pounds of fentanyl were seized at the wide open border with Mexico last year under Joe Biden. Here's Kirsten Hillman, the Canadian ambassador to the United States.
Canadians are frustrated with our neighbors, you know, the country that we feel closest to, the country that is partners, allies, often family, that we've gone to war with, that we've died with, that we come to each other's aid, most recently in LA, but obviously 9/11. You've come to our aid over the years so many times. And we feel, Canadians feel, under attack, under economic attack, and that is causing some challenges for sure across Canadian society. Fentanyl is a very serious problem in Canada too. On some days, we have more deaths per capita than you have here in the United States. So we take this very seriously. It is not a big issue between our two countries. Less than 1% of the fentanyl that is seized in the United States is coming from Canada, but every ounce can kill families and people. So we're taking it very seriously.
Again, if there's a deliverable, great, and force Canada to the wall to get the deliverable. However, all of this is having an impact on domestic politics in Canada. So if you don't like Justin Trudeau and his party, then why exactly are you doing the things that are going to ensure that they remain in power? So before all this trade war stuff, the runaway winner in the Canadian polling was Pierre Poilievre, who's terrific. Pierre Poilievre is the leader of the Conservative Party. He's one of the most articulate conservative leaders of our generation. He's terrific. And he has now fallen behind in the polling to Mark Carney, who's the leader of the Liberal Party in Canada, who will maintain all of the policies of Justin Trudeau, except without the dumb face. So Mark Carney just won the race to succeed Justin Trudeau as Canada's prime minister, and he vows to win the trade war with the United States and President Donald Trump. He's the former governor of the Canadian Central Bank and Bank of England, according to the BBC. He is a green revolution guy. He's never served in elected office. His replacement of the minority government means that he is the new leader of the party that is competitive. According to the BBC, the governing Liberals have seen a remarkable political turnaround since Trudeau's exit, as Canadians have been galvanized by President Trump's trade threats and support for annexing their country. At the beginning of the year, Pierre Poilievre was ahead 20 points in the election polls. Today, he is tied with the Liberals. So are you going to get more from Canada with Pierre Poilievre as the prime minister than you're going to get from Mark Carney? The answer is yes. It turns out that politics has a lot of downstream effect. In the end, listen, I trust President Trump on this stuff because I think in the end, as I've said 1,000 times, he's a results-driven guy. He said over the weekend he wants a dynamic economy and a dynamic country. The way to do that is to provide a steady, understandable economy for investors that reduces regulations and taxes and makes it easier to do business in the country for Americans. That's the way. And here's President Trump.
Well, I want a dynamic country where the private enterprise carries the day, not the government. And I want a strong country militarily. We need that nowadays. You can see that probably better than ever before.
Okay, I agree with him, and I think that that is the way that he's going to move, and if the results are bad, I think he's going to change tactics. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.